Thank you. It is Wednesday, March 4th, and it's 3:00 p.m. I'm calling this meeting of the special meeting of the Pros Committee to order. Thank you all for being here. We have a quorum. All current members of the committee are present. The briefest of chair reports. It looks like I will need to cancel the regularly scheduled April 16 meeting. There's conflict, where the committee members have the conflict. We may want to wait until after next Thursday before we schedule the next meeting and start thinking of the timing. But just heads up on that. Agenda review, pretty straightforward. The public comment, because it's a special meeting, public comment will be only on the agenda items. 3 items on the agenda: the community park planning update from the general manager, the presentation from Cambria Center for the Arts regarding murals on the community park restroom, and discussion about the Fish and Wildlife, the don't feed the animals marketing materials. So that's it. Ad hoc committee reports, anything? Then any committee member communications. And then public comment on the agenda items. And before we dive in, normally do public comment from the room first, but since there's a written comment, I didn't want to forget. So we have a written comment from Claudia Harmon-Worthen at Beautified Cambria. She said, according to the CZLUO, that's the Coastal Zone Land Use Ordinance, it's a mouthful, all murals must be approved by the NCAC, and the subject matter must represent our town. The murals in the clock shop, Bob and Jan's, and the ramp wall to the upper level of the Redwood building and Medusa's did not follow these ordinances. Any future murals should follow the county ordinance. And I was scratching my head. I searched on the coastal zone land use ordinance. The only reference I found to murals is the exception under 22.20.040, where it says exterior wall murals. The hand paint, exceptions include, a hand painted work of art, a visual art that is either affixed to or painted directly on the exterior wall of the structure with the permission of the property owner. I thought, well, shucks, the CCSD is the property owner. So I followed up. I checked with, had a chat with Claudia, and I think with where we landed is she suggested that it's just a nice idea to, because she likes getting input from the NCAC because it's people like to attend those meetings more than they do the CCSD. But well, okay, well, that's nice, but that is not exactly an ordinance requirement. And General Manager McElhaney, you had some follow up on that, or?
So it can be confusing at times because when you go to the county, they want a permit for everything.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to county planning about the mural. It doesn't appear that there's any permit that needs to happen for the mural itself. There could be some things which I sent Chairperson Thomas in regards to the ranch management plan, the mitigated negative declaration that talks about, and I didn't pull it up, but something about the natural visual aesthetics, essentially with the ranch. So there could be something there that would have to be navigated. But as far as county planning goes, there's no permit at this time. I've reached back for further clarification if there has any implications with the easement or local coastal plan, North Coast area plan. And we'll find out if there's any feedback on that from them. As far as NCAC goes, there's always an opportunity to get public comment at NCAC, but from a land use perspective, if there's no permit, then it doesn't go through NCAC because they haven't gotten a referral from the county to comment on it as a body. But there are other things that we bring through NCAC to get public feedback on. So I'm not saying that's not an opportunity, but you know, that's up to you guys and the committee.
Got it.
That's kind of all I got.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So other, oh, yeah, come.
I just want to ask about, it was actually on the agenda for the CCSD board to discuss the mural project. And we hadn't presented anything, so that was literally taken, I'm guessing, from either you or the video of our discussion about it. But is that something that we can expect to happen routinely if we discuss something? And what we didn't even really do, all we did was discuss the fact that there was an idea for a mural. So is that something that we should expect to happen when we have a discussion about something?
It's potential if you're moving something forward that the board hasn't directed pros to do. So when the board sees things like that, and there may be some discussions at the board level where we're like, well, we're not sure we want that, or we haven't discussed it or authorized it, then the discussion starts churning with directors. And then I get asked questions about what's going on at pros, what are they gonna do? That's not what we told them to do. Their only mission, according to what the board has said, is to complete the community park plan. So if there's a change to the community park plan in which the mural is incorporated and we bring forward that plan with it incorporated, then they would discuss it then. But when they do see things that they haven't necessarily directed pros to do, then things start churning and they want to talk about it. And so at agenda review, there's been some comments made about, well, why are they looking at this? That's not what they're supposed to be looking at. And so, and in the agenda review process, they said, okay, let's put it on the agenda and discuss it. And then, as you know, at the meeting, they said, well, that's not really what we're focusing on at this meeting. Let's more break it down to just the community park plan, the possibility of doing a budget adjustment for design and permitting. So it could come back. I imagine it will come back at some point. You know,
And I want to reel this in, and very clear answer, and right, that came from a couple of the directors. However, we're on public input, so.
Okay,
So,
I just wanted, I'm sorry.
yeah, but no, that's a very good
We're talking
question.
about the agenda item, so.
Yeah. So other, so anyone else have public, have input on the agenda? Okay, then, let's dive.
we do have one hand raised.
iPhone 23, this would be, Ms. Galloway, if I recognize the sign in. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to comment on the mural conversation. So, Matthew, in some ways, yes, the county was correct in saying that the mural itself doesn't need a land use, minor use, coastal development permit, but it still needs to be consistent with Title 23 and the North Coast Area Plan. And additionally, the ranch management plan and conservation easement and scenic and visual resource protections. So yeah, I think that there's maybe a discussion there that hopefully will be had around making sure that these certain things are subordinate to the landscape as Title 23 in the North Coast Area Plan. And as I understand it, the ranch management plan suggests, I mean, that's why when you look at things like signage, there's very specific requirements. So yeah, I think, looking at the coastal development permit for the ranch plan, there's, this restroom was obviously classified as like a utility or a miscellaneous structure. That is to be subordinate to the landscape. So I'm just not entirely sure how the mural fits in with that. And I would just like additionally suggest that if this is something that you guys are serious moving forward with as like a benefit to the community, that you engage the community about it. So, and I've spoken with various people. I've spoken with Beautify Cambria, who agrees with everything I'm saying right now. And I just think that there's a larger conversation to be had here, especially as it pertains to if one, policy, right? If one mural is allowed, then why not a million murals? And what's to stop a mural on everything, a mural on the dog park? So yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. That's all. And thanks for letting me talk.
Very thoughtful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I can just follow up that I think that goes back to the discussion we were having about it coming before the board eventually for this. And then I'm sure those questions will be asked at the board level too. So.
Well, and they'll be addressed here because we haven't seen the plan yet, so.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the plan includes very robust community engagement, so we'll hear that. Any other public comment on agenda items? Then we will dive into item 3A, General Manager Matt Haney, Community Park Phase 3 planning update. What's the latest?
Not a whole lot. So we did bring back those three items. Or maybe it was four. It was the discussion of the community park plan, it was discussion of murals, it was discussion of gazebos. And so we parsed it down. The board directed us to bring back two agenda items. One is going to be the agenda item for adopting the community park plan because before it was just received and filed. And then the second one is going to be a budget adjustment for $30,000 up from the 20 to 25 we were quoted from Monty Soto, our contracted district engineer. And will the board approve a budget adjustment, start moving the permitting forward and some of the design pieces? And that's kind of where we are. That's agendized for March 12th, right? March 12th.
Wait from tomorrow. That's good. So any questions for the general manager on, or comments on community park plan status?
Well, I don't know if it's the right time to ask this.
It probably is. Yeah.
What happens if PROS is dissolved and we move forward on some of these things?
Then it'll be a board ad hoc, more than likely, that gets set up and tasked with moving it forward.
Okay.
So like skate park ad hoc or updating of the ranch management plan, some of these projects can be formed with a two board member ad hoc to work with staff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Other questions, comments? Then, great, it's the main show for today. We'll receive a presentation from Cambria Center for the Arts regarding plans for murals on the community park restroom and discuss and consider making recommendations to the board of directors. So that means that at some point we'll vote on bring it to the board as is, bring it to the board with some modifications and changes, or thumbs down. It's however the committee sees that. And just a bit of background, at the June 18 PROS committee meeting, the CCA offered to paint a mural on the new community park restroom. After a bit of discussion, Shannon Sutherland volunteered as liaison to work with the CCA as they develop a plan. So on the agenda today, we'll hear a presentation on the plan, have opportunity to discuss and consider the recommendation. And I just want to express my appreciation to Cambria Center for the Arts and to Shannon for bringing this forward, the volunteer effort. You know, as we'll see, this is going to be at no cost to the district, either to do it or to maintain it. So before we have CC make the presentation, Shannon, you want to anything else for framing the conversation?
Just that everybody there, you know, the group has worked really hard to make this plan as comprehensive as possible and answer as many questions as possible up front. So if anyone here sees anything or hears anything or has read anything in the plan that we think is missing or should be addressed, let's definitely let them know so that they can have that ready before the CCSD presentation.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Would this be an appropriate time to speak in public comment?
Yeah, questions, public comments about the mural. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just want to make a public comment to say community art is a very important piece of the fabric of the community. Many of our surrounding communities, including San Luis Obispo, have very strong mural art within their community, and the area of art is just so important. And my public comment is really to take this very seriously. I understand previous comments that have been made in regards to what needs to be done to meet the needs of whatever regulations need to be met, and public input, of course, is critical. But to put public art out into our community really helps express who we are in many different ways. So please continue forward on your path, because I think it's beautiful.
And
Thanks.
can I add one little tiny thing?
Please.
I just want to remind everyone too that that rodeo grounds historically has been a community space for Cambria. So I can't speak to the fact that there's ever murals, but there was definitely community pride in that area, and it was a big gathering place. So this has got a real history of the town. So this project, I think, is going to reflect that history, which I think is really cool. So that's what I'm saying.
Awesome. And Laura?
David sponsored a question for me then, about the murals in town. Did we have to go through any hoops when we had the fire posters put up? Because they were kind of murals too. The kids painted some, them hanging on the fire, to the entrance of town. Did we have to do anything special for that?
That, as far as we know, that was managed through the fire safe focus group.
Yeah.
So I don't have any
Nor do I.
input on that.
And their signs, and that's a bit different from a mural, which is on a building, when we read, but that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. So how, I think this will flow is, the folks from CCA, introduced themselves, and I've got the, what they provided on screen, so we'll be able to flow through this. And then when you're at an appropriate point, when you want to get, then we'll take questions from the committee, that, when that's done, kind of questions from the public, and then we'll have discussion. So, Ms. Lampkin on this.
All right, I'll start. I'm Gail Lambert Thomas, and I'm of arts education first for the Art Center, and that also involves community involvement. And that is really the main focus of our whole organization, is all about bringing the community together. So we see these murals as another way to do that, and we've done it in a few places around town. The mural that's by Moonstone was by Art Van Ryn years ago. And I mean, this is all in the document already. And and when we met initially with the pros committee, we discussed concepts. What are concepts for the park, and what are concepts that would reflect the community to have on this restroom. And that's how we came up with the flora and the fauna and the historical use, the rodeo grounds, and then how it is used, the dog park and the frisbee, or we don't know what exactly is going to evolve there, but any of the uses. And then we're going to have community-wide contest, a design contest for the designs of the mural. And part of that will be students. And so it really reflects who we are in Cambria. Let's see. Anyway, I appreciate everyone being here and being involved and all your input. And let's see. So why don't we go through the faces of if my
Scroll
my little bit scroll.
to the pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've broken, maybe scroll it up a little bit more.
That one?
Oh, scroll up a little bit more.
This way?
Yeah,
This way, it would be down. Okay.
down,
Okay.
scroll down.
Okay,
So then.
got it. Yeah.
So, so each side of the restroom, depending upon where it's facing, we've come up with the concept for that side. And this is the side that's the opposite side of the dog park that faces, I guess that would be facing town. And so its concept would be flora and fauna, including ocean creatures. And then it can either be, well, no, this one is all one concept. Yeah. So, yeah, so the different areas are all grouping. Whereas the next one, if you scroll down, The next one is nature. This one faces the dog park. So it can either be all one concept, or it can be three different artists contributing their ideas here. And it'll be a dog in nature, like if you're hiking with a dog. So maybe some will reflect a dog in the dog park, but we're really trying to include the rest of Cambria as well, so bringing that into it. And scroll down, please. So this is a sign that as you drive up to the park, you'll see it, and we're gonna integrate the sign of the name of the park, the community park, onto this, and then it will reflect the culture, the rodeo ground, or however we interpret the culture of what happened, the historical significance of the park. So that's what this wall is all about. And then scrolling down, please. And then this wall is the student wall. So that'll be however the students interpret the usage of the park. And yeah, so we have our committee, and you know, Shannon is a very important part of our committee, being on the pros committee, and our CCA committee. Do you have any, do you want to add any of you want to add anything more to this, or you? You're good. That's very thorough. And we've created a whole, for the design competition itself, we have a big outreach to the community, and that's what the rest of the attachment is about. And we've scheduled everything out to get all the approvals that we need. I mean, to get recommendations and, you know, from here to go forward so that we can present it to the CCSD and board, and then get the CCSD board approval, and then we go on to so that's for the plan approval. And then once we have that approval, then we can go ahead and do the competition. And then once we have those designs, we go back through the recommendation here again, and then to the CCSD board for their approval. But we have a lot of approval processes built in so that the whole community is able to give their input. Oh, a very important note, maintenance. So we are totally responsible for maintenance, and
We, the CCS.
CCA is totally responsible for maintenance, and we have even maintained the mural that was in the medical building, CCSD building parking lot. Margot had a group that went and took care of that wasn't even created by our organization. So and we know how important it is to stay on top of that, and we want to create another reason for having all the community involved is that there's a lot of buy-in on these designs. And people will be proud of their designs. Okay. Let's see if I covered. But I think I covered everything.
Yeah, I would add that, and you kind of already highlighted this, but we chunked up the bathroom into various canvases in order to maximize the amount of participation for the community. So many artists can participate in this, not just one or two. And then, of course, the side where the students will be doing the mural, we are pairing that with the curriculum at the high school. So of course, that won't start until the fall. So there'll be a little space between the three sides being done and then that final student side being done, and that the designs that we ultimately come up with that are presented to the CCA will be presented to CCSD for final approval. So there's no one's going to be approving any artwork and then just saying that's what we're doing without CCSD's approval, including a different meeting for when the students present their artwork for the CCSD to see that and approve that as that happens in the fall. or even later, because the students, it'll be on their own timeline.
This isn't critical to what you just said, but I had a conversation with a high school teacher, our teacher. And she strongly suggested that of the spring when.
Yeah, that's what I kind of said. It'll definitely be done, but
Might be
yeah.
a little bit different than what you'll read in here, but we're still on track for incorporating the students, which we are thrilled about. I hope you all come to the CCA to see their little, their little exhibit in our studio. But anyways, it's a big part of, what the CCA wants to do is incorporate our students, our emerging artists, if you will. And so we're real happy to include them in this endeavor.
Yeah, fabulous. Now we'll get public comment in a moment.
Cool.
But rather than bounce back and forth. So one of the things that I want to be sure we look at and emphasize on the project schedule, we're here March 4th at the pros committee, and pending the outcome from today, I believe the CCA, the group is hoping to bring this to the board in April. If
Like the March. And then. So when do you meet? That's enough time.
The 29th is a Sunday, and they're due on the 25th.
So we would probably want to change that date, provide the plan to the CCSD at the latest, the 25th.
March 29th, so is that the,
Yeah, because it would just be this with any modifications.
Right.
And then I was thinking that I'll create a slide deck from this that we can use to present at the CCSD meeting, which will help people get a better visual, if that's okay. So we can submit both by the 25th.
Yeah, 25th at the latest, because we have to get all of that information in, create the staff report. It's got to go through all the peak and approval processes, then for Haley to post the following few days.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, it'll just take us a couple of days to put together any changes, so.
And then we'll need, there's two different ways that this can happen. One is a motion is made at the board level to get this on the agenda. The next is an agenda review for staff to bring it forward, and get the approval of the president and the VP to put on the agenda, or the president can call for it to be put on the agenda. Which I think you have a president in favor of putting on the agenda. So there's just a couple ways to get it on the agenda.
Okay,
We can make recommendations to put things on the agenda. Most of the time that goes through, but given some of the comments, it's gonna need a little more push from the board level.
I guess that's my job too,
Mhm.
to lead in that direction.
Yeah.
So thank you for
And
that.
that'll lock it in. So in future agenda items for this next week, Director Thomas, when we get to future agenda items, he makes a motion. I would like to make a motion to place the presentation to the board of directors for approval of the mural project. And he gets a second and at least a 3-0 vote, then it's forced on the agenda. Versus left at the control of the agenda review committee. That makes
Okay.
sense.
Fabulous.
so do we give everything to you or to Haley?
No, just look give it to us, and we'll
Okay.
have it in the queue.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it gets put on the agenda on this next meeting, then you just send it to us and it'll be on there.
Okay,
Yeah, Shannon is the rep, to staff. It's my job as director to make sure I get the right conversations to get this on the agenda April 9th. Fabulous. You're one step ahead as always. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So now, first from the committee, kind of questions and discussions about either the concept, the four walls, or the rich context of engagement that they're planning. What, Gary, Matt,
No, I'll just say I love the idea. I mean, it's hard to find anything that somebody wouldn't like. Mural on the ballot. Kind of my house. I'm in.
No.
I had a feeling.
so I was thinking, even though I helped craft this, but just because we want to make it as absolutely robust as possible, that we address the idea of tourism. My daughter's building, Slaptown Mercantile, she has a big flower mural on the side of it, and people stop all day long to have their picture taken in Cambria against that mural.
Where is it?
So it, behind Robbins. On the building.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
so, as far as tourism, cause I know I do it too, when I travel to a little town, that's what I wanna do, is I wanna see all the murals in town, and I mean, the chamber could even do like a little mural map, cause they're pretty dang cool, we have some, great artists in our town. So maybe we put a little something addressing tourism in the plan as well, just to
Perfect.
kinda zhuzh it up a little bit.
Cool.
This might be premature. What's the sense of, I'm walking toward these murals. Am I able to kind of perceive the design from, 50 feet, or only when I get, I'm just kind of curious how detailed, are they gonna be more graphic so that you are able to catch, so it catches your eye from a distance? This is something as I've tried to picture it, I've sometimes envisioned, these like larger things, figures, whatever they happen to be. And then very often, and I've written a lot about murals in different communities. A lot of times they're very, very detailed. And, and these are kind of small canvases that we're talking about. So I'm just wondering if any thought's been given to kind of the graphic impact and from what distance, or are there gonna be something that they're gonna catch your eye with the color, and then as you get closer to them, and I know, again, this is kind of premature because we don't have any designs.
I think that's really valuable. I mean, I hadn't taken it that far as, how impactful it would be from a distance and, because if it is too detailed, you won't get that from a distance.
Right.
So thank you for that. I mean, I think that, that's really valuable and we'll certainly.
Well, yeah, when we look at the designs that are presented.
Mhm.
And we had talked about that a little bit, because the one spot that's facing the parking lot, we did talk about the fact that you would want to be able to see that from a distance when you drove in, because that's gonna have kind of a big
That's true.
statement for the
Yeah.
park.
Okay.
And then the other ones, really, you'd be a lot closer to them to view them. I mean, if you think like this, the side of the dog park, the people will be in the dog park right up against it. Same thing as you're walking towards the front, but the two capped ends, definitely,
Yeah, really good point. 'Cause,
yeah.
yeah, you think about the dog park side, yeah, there's only, 10, 20 feet to the fence, but dog park goes, 50, 100 yards. And so, and then the playground side, where the doors are, should we ever be so fortunate as to you get to having a playground, that's a ways away, and likewise, so that's really good to
Yeah.
think through.
Yeah, it's a design challenge, because you really want them to be able to be seen from afar and
Detail.
Yeah.
close, so, yeah.
And each canvas doesn't have to do the same thing either,
Right.
Depending on which direction it's facing, but I think it's great. I think, as Julie was saying, others have said, public art really does mean a lot to a community. It's sometimes hard to get a consensus. That's, I think, gonna be a challenge too, but I think this is a great project, so.
Can I ask a question just about how it's gonna work? Is there, I remember reading when the bathroom went in, that it was treated, something that prevents paint from sticking to it.
Yeah, so we have a whole process involved in that, there's, we have to do some sanding and then a special coat. And, so it's actually outlined
Yeah,
here
it's
in the.
addressed.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I might have fallen asleep or somewhere
Yeah,
around
it's-
yesterday.
Actually. It's the best. I missed the trick.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and.
Yeah, and then we have special paint that coated paint that we put on after the design is up to protect it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're working both sides of it.
Gotcha.
Good questions.
And I definitely want to double down on the fact that we do cover maintenance, that this group is taking on all responsibility for the exterior maintenance of the bathrooms. So if something gets tagged, if something happens to it, it's this group that will come and take care of it. No one from the CCSD has to do that. So including, if the canvas gets a little too chipped and worn and old, you know, in 10 years, to start a whole new process, so.
Board will like that.
Yeah, and then also I think maybe we should address I'm trying to think, the ranch management plan, but what's the other one? The
Conservation easement.
yes, one of them, because the ranch management plan references the community park plan many times in the document, but there is no community park plan. So we do have to make sure that we are following everything in the ranch management plan, i.e. the type of plants that are planted. Signage, I think, actually says that the community park plan would address the signage, but of course that would have to be in consistent with what's already on Fiscalini Ranch and what the county would allow. So I mean, I would have to look through it again. I read it pretty extensively when we very first started this a couple years, 3 years ago. But we would want to make sure that we are consistent with that and not breaking any of the rules. So,
Yeah, so I reached out to Kitty Conley, as the easement holder, and they have no opinion on the mural. So essentially they don't object to it as the easement holder. There is a community park plan, but it's older and you guys are updating it. Is that correct?
Yes.
So one does
there's,
exist.
yeah, a map. Was there an actual plan? I guess there was. It's the one that's written and it's on a typewriter.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From 1994.
But also what, your ad hoc committee presented, sometime last year to the board, that's what is going to be discussed and considered for adoption next week.
And I thought I have to look in the document, definitely originally in the document, I had included some sort of artist installation.
Mhm.
But I'd have to look, because I think we just pared it down to recreational activities, so, I'll have to go read it again and see what I actually included. But, I want to make sure that we maybe add, again, just for robustness, something addressing the ranch management plan, and that we will not, you know, do anything that's in opposition to
Conflict with.
or in conflict with anything we're supposed to be doing there.
And, in preparation, yesterday, the general manager found the page, in the, conservation easement on aesthetics, issues substantially, does it degrade the existing visual character or would it create a new source of light? Well, obviously no source of light and, mitigation, doesn't really say anything, I'll give this.
Yeah, with that.
Actually, I've got some other notes back here. Well, yeah, I'll get this, scan of this page to you, but it's pretty vanilla.
Yeah, and it's vague, and that was the mitigated negative declaration, done by Rincon when the, plan came about. And so that's some of the language that I could, aesthetics, what was it? Aesthetically,
Yeah, just it just categories aesthetics. And, the issue, is to be, the concern is make sure it doesn't substantially degrade the existing visual character or quality of the site and its surroundings. That's it, that's the sentence.
Yeah.
Everything else talks about light. Which,
Okay, so then at least maybe add that to this report so that we at least have addressed it.
great idea.
Okay.
and I think the only other thing would be to look at that North Coast area plan reference that Christina Galloway was making, because that's her realm, and I've tried to go into the North Coast area plan and see if there's anything in there that would be an issue for moving this forward. I haven't identified it yet.
Just the one that says consistent with the North Coast area plan, right?
As far as I can see, yeah. But she's referencing, something different, so maybe she's seen something that we're not. So just as far as due diligence goes, just
Okay.
as a CYA. Because those questions will come up the board meeting.
Yeah, I'm trying to anticipate everything, of course.
So a good point for public input. Ms. Schwartz, you wanted to comment?
Right, okay, kind of tongue in cheek, who's gonna judge the artwork, the artist or the CCSD director?
CCA,
Okay,
we are committee.
okay, yeah, just.
But then it has to go in front of the CCSD for final.
Yeah.
And that's something to think about too, like where are, if we get to that stage where we moved it forward to start the contest, I could envision an ad hoc, being created at the board level to be a part of that to make sure that we don't select a mural that then gets before the board and they're like, well, we don't like it. I'm just trying to think ahead of like all the different options, right? You're gonna have different opinions and that's where it gets complicated at a board level, for them to authorize it. So maybe there's some involvement from an ad hoc that moves this forward, so if the board says, yes, let's move forward with the mural project, and you get closer to picking the designs and the winners, maybe they're a part of that. So it moves it forward.
Yeah, no, Shannon, I'm not just CCA, Shannon is part of our committee and we have a date on there that we've scheduled for that, design competition. And so if that ad hoc committee could be available for those dates and we're certainly welcome to a couple more people. We don't want to make too many people
In first
be
third.
design critiques.
Yeah, and to Matt's point, I'm not a decision maker, so
But
better to have a decision maker help with the final design selection, yeah. I'm a nobody.
So, well, but I'm just saying that, we have, so right now we've got like 7 people that, have like
I
designate.
think it'll be interesting to see if the directors, if there's some directors with interest in what looks to me like micromanaging, but that's okay, get into that detail, then we'll learn that.
Yeah, and I think we'll
Well,
learn it.
maybe they won't, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think we would learn it if it gets on the agenda and we start talking about it and then where the direction is provided from there to move it forward. And then I think that discussion to be had there, in terms of potentially setting up an ad hoc and moving that piece forward. But I think that's later on in the process. So
Yeah.
if we're talking about June 1st through the 5th, that's the assumption that the board's already said, this is green lit, go for it. So I think you have a lot of leeway there and room to figure it out, so to speak.
Okay, yeah, good thought to bring up, yeah, accommodate.
I just want to say thank you for paving and potentially painting the way forward on public art, because the state park is a huge canvas and centrally located for tourists and our community. And I also, Shannon, just wanted to kind of lean in to mention you've had a win already. CCA did an incredible collaborative project on the side of Richozola.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that,
And we discussed that in here.
yeah, it was a huge win. Our children, myself, my husband, were all part of that project.
I was, the community got to do it, so the
Painting
community's
is,
so proud.
even if it was paint by number, which is about what I can handle, it was awesome. So again, thank you for paving and painting the way for future art in our community.
So can I make a motion that we move this plan forward with a few amendments, a couple of sentences regarding tourism, graphic impact at a distance, addressing the ranch management plan. Those 3 things.
Shannon, I hate to throw another one in there, but we're just briefly discussing, maybe presenting a few designs before we do our final. I don't know how it works exactly, but instead of saying this is the one that we have decided on, we have a pre-meeting, like a better word, where we have a few.
Or you can invite the ad hoc if they decide to do one.
Yeah.
Okay, I just thought that instead of presenting just one, we have a preliminary meeting where we have a few that say, this is our choice. But in case it's rejected by the CCSD, we have some backup. I don't know, I just feel safer.
I think it's a good idea. Again, we're forecasting. We're forecasting the contest before we've got it approved, and I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, I'm just saying we gotta get the board to green light it, and then these are good talks to have in the long run, and I think. If you were gonna have 2 ad hoc members that have been assigned by the board to be a part of the process, and they were able to be a part of that voting process, because eventually they're the ones that have to approve the winner, so to speak. Then if they're a part of that process and you have several to select from, and everybody comes to an agreement on the winner. I think that's the way to move it forward.
So then maybe we should add a date for a meeting
To do that.
where we let someone from the CCSD, however they decide to do it, come and review the decisions. So is that okay? So then it would be with that modification of that date as well.
So as part of that week, because I think we left ourselves a week. So one of those. Toward the end of that week, we can have them be involved.
That week of June 1st, is that for your?
Yeah. June 6th, let's see, June 1st through 5th, yeah, that week, so.
Cool.
And it's June 1st through 5th, so. Not graduation day, I'm not sure what day that is, but, so sometime that week.
Okay, so there would be a modification with those four things, which are very minor. And if everyone trusts me to do it, we can, because I don't wanna like delay the approval of this plan because of minor edits that we need to make.
Well, absolutely, yeah, your motion to move it forward with these modifications is entirely appropriate.
Okay.
I think I heard something about a statement of consistent with the North Coast Area Plan. It might be worth having.
Okay.
Like, I'll put those. Pass it to you, because then you'll do your slides out of it.
Okay,
Okay, other, great discussions, any other public comment? Haley, do we have any hands up?
no,
Thank you so much. So we have a motion. And the motion is to move this, to move this forward, recommend the adoption of this, plan to the board with the modifications as listed.
I'll second
So Gary has a second. Shannon, Gary,
it. Aye.
Matt, all right, the unanimously approved. Thank you very much to our, volunteers from the Cambria Center for the Arts. This is, to me, a win for the community, So much of what we do in the district, it's logical, we have, the plumbing, we have the water and sewer and fire protection. And what you're doing is bringing art to this. So thank you so much. Really exciting. I think that brings us to item 3C, and you're welcome to stay. We love an audience, but no one gets their feeling hurt in these meetings when folks who have made a presentation bug out. So yeah, either way, but love to have you stay. So this, so the next item, 3C, discuss the California Department of Fish and Wildlife Human Wildlife Conflicts Toolkit. I just brought this in really for the reason that I'll scroll down. I think that I put something in here.
Hey, Michael, can I just interject
Please,
something
yes,
real
please.
quick? Matt, is there like an ice machine here on this thing?
Are you going to get you some?
I can do it. I don't.
I got it. You're on
Are
my
you
video.
sure?
Yep.
Okay, I got it.
you're dying.
I am. It's getting worse as I'm,
Was it throwing?
I was throwing batting practice right before I came here. And I didn't get my hand behind the screen in time, and a kid hit a baseball. It got me right on this, I don't know, is it obvious?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and you're right there on
I would
that.
have to compare elbows, but I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
You can see it from here.
Yeah.
And then the more I'm sitting here, the more I'm not moving it, but like, and now it's really thin.
Oh my God.
I will put this in the minutes, so.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about some other medical things I got going here.
Yikes.
I'll second that.
So ice is coming, yeah, but so bringing this up, because at the last CCSD board meeting, the Fish and Wildlife Warden Matt Gill discussed hazards to both the wildlife and the people in the community from feeding the wildlife. And he provided some samples. There's we brought like a door hanger. Feeding the deer is dead wrong, I'll pass this around. We brought a Keep Me Wild, and there's a couple others from their website. They've got all these materials and, there are more hours in the day, but I want to just bring this up. It's just an opportunity to discuss the importance of keeping our wildlife wild and just see if there's any energy, within the community, within the committee to discuss this further at some point.
I would think that you would have an absolute Cambria national uprising if you said, don't feed the deer and turkey anymore.
Yeah, I think you could probably change this from human wildlife conflicts to human wildlife human conflicts because I will speak from experience. The turkeys are a very divisive issue. And I do think it's a very difficult issue for the community because it's understandable what their appeal is. But there are select areas of the community where the impacts are very extreme. And in having contact with the county and the state, you're basically left to your own devices. And as a resident of the community, you basically have no recourse because technically any kind of harassment or hazing is the word that's often used, would be considered a disruption to, their natural activity. In the case of something like turkeys, and whether people are feeding them or allowing them to gather on their property, those impacts don't stay on those properties. They affect adjacent properties, and honestly, I think it's really challenging because people are entrenched in their positions. And I don't know, you can tell people time and time again, the turkeys are non-native. They were introduced for hunting, and they're not being hunted, nor is there much predation. And it doesn't sway anybody because there's almost like this among some people, I'm probably being too blunt here, but there's almost this Disney sense of nature as opposed to the idea that turkeys should have a healthy fear of not only animals like coyotes, but people. So anyway, I agree with Shannon. There would probably be an uprising, but it's a very real issue in parts of the community.
So I'm hearing there's about as much energy in trying to convince Dodgers fans to cheer for the Giants that there is to dig into this any further. Yeah.
Well, and I would also say that like maybe NCAC is like the place, because they're really, when something like this is presented, they're usually the ones that kind of help get the word out to remind people.
Yeah, perhaps. And I brought this up only because the OS in prose is open space, and the wildlife lives pretty much in the open space. So I just want to have the conversation. Yeah, fair enough. It's this is a worthwhile effort, but not one that not one that anyone's likely to win anyway. And so, yeah, it's kind of like thanks for sharing. Yeah, fair enough. Any so the public comment, I believe you wanted to comment on the topic, or
I didn't, but I will.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the turkeys, I mean, it's wonderful to have a few of them around. The point about the turkeys with their talons and their scratching, they're extremely destructive if you're trying to plant anything, or even for the natural forest, because they go in, and there's areas that I know of right at the top of Fern Canyon where it's been totally devastated with the turkeys and with people's chickens that they let run loose.
I guess I should ask the general manager, when is hunting season for turkeys in Cambria?
I have no idea.
I shouldn't be joking. I think the answer is that there is no,
I don't think so, and it'd be more scary than the turkeys that have people run around shot.
Yes.
Around here.
Yeah.
And technically, you can take out a depredation permit for your own property, but obviously. You're not gonna be able to, and I've never fired a gun in my entire life. So I am an unlikely turkey hunter to begin with, but obviously that's not a realistic solution to
Yeah.
the
We can
problem.
do like what we did with the peacocks that disappeared overnight.
I don't wanna know about that.
We don't know. They just disappeared overnight.
so I think that's, as far as this discussion goes. But,
I mean, we'll still keep putting out stuff in our little blast outs and, you know, as things start ticking up again, we can bring back in the game warden, you know, but, you know, we talked about it from a district level. It's just not within our purview. You know, we only can manage stuff on our open spaces, which is essentially the ranch, you know, and then, they do their job from the, you know, private homeowner, landowner, citizen aspect of where they can find and do things like that. So, you know, we can, as those were brought to us, we can forward them to Fish and Wildlife and kind of let them do their thing, but our hands are kind of tied being unincorporated.
And what would they do? What would Fish and Wildlife actually do if you called them in?
They'll go to the site and, you know, if they can catch them in the act of feeding deer or having food out, someone.
Citations.
Yeah, citations. Someone was cited something like $2,000 for continuing to feed deer. Because they had a little tray of food outside their house where the deer were coming to be fed, and so they got cited.
Yeah, God, I feel like that's our significant issue for us, right? I mean, we built this town here, and we built it where the deer are. But the problem is, by building the town, we push out the predators, and all the only predators they have now are the cars, right? And the cars, so, you know, that's a risk to the drivers, it's property damage to the cars, and then people get upset. Can't go on to next door without somebody complaining that somebody's driving too fast and they're gonna hit the deer. And I guarantee you, there's nobody in this town that wants to hit a deer.
No.
Like, you're not doing it on purpose, right? The deer's, I was driving over 46 the other day and one ran right in front of me and I just missed it. And I wasn't speeding, I was going at normal speed over 46. The turkeys, and now you got me all fired up. The turkeys, you know, the dogs, you're walking your dog, they find the poop and they eat it, it makes them sick. I mean, it's just a terrible thing for the community when they get out of control and all. People don't seem to have the same concern that I do.
And there are, I just want to say, for the record, it's not that there are a few turkeys. I mean, there are places where I have counted 100 roosting in the trees near my house. Not directly on my property, but you know, 50 yards away. And then they disperse during the day and then they come back at night. So.
Oh, yeah, I think that brings this topic to a landing, and since this is a special meeting, we're not, we don't have a topic to discuss future agenda items, so it's 3:59 PM and this meeting is adjourned.
Well,